the chat. I'll go first. Thank you, Abby. Thank you for leading the way. Names and LinkedIn's in the chat, guys. Let's all connect. Let's all get to know each other. Hey, Tammy Lore. Yes, nice. Keep them coming, guys. Feel free to also drop like the area of tech that you're interested in as well, actually. The more context, the better. And if you're not shy, feel free to turn on your cameras too. Keep them coming. Hey, Samuel. Nice to see you. Hey, Raymond. Hey, Sabiha. Drop your names, LinkedIn's, what area you're interested in. You can even drop like location. The more the better, the more the better. Let's go. Keep them coming, guys. Welcome, 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 people. We'll get the session started in approximately 4 minutes, guys. Hey, Familayo. Hey, Ahmed. Welcome, welcome, welcome. More names, honestly, more names, guys. More names. There's a lot of us in here. Keep them coming, keep them coming. Keep it coming. Names, what location, where you're based, what area of tech you're interested in. Keep it coming, people. And feel free to have your cameras on. Don't be shy. We have a well-resourced and informative session today, guys. We have a lot of representatives from BBC today who have taken their time because I don't know if you guys can notice, it's past 5. So literally, we even have some people in the office. So this is serious dedication on their part. So guys, the least we could do is drop our names, LinkedIn's, what we're looking to do, all of that good stuff, guys. Keep it coming. Keep it coming, people, and we'll get started in approximately 2 minutes. Hey, Shaban. Hey, James. Where are people from? I want to know where people are from. I'm nosy, guys. Sorry. That's why I'm asking all these questions, actually. So, so let me know where you guys are from. Newcastle, I see it. Yeah, base. Cardiff, nice, nice. Leeds, okay. Manchester, what? Yes, yes, good, good. That's good. Sussex, Coventry, wow. Blackburn, nice, nice. Nottingham, okay, okay, okay. Far and wide, far and wide. Okay, we'll get started in about 2 more minutes, guys. Keep on dropping in names and LinkedIn's in the chat, what area you're interested in when it comes to tech. We have someone from the USA. Okay, that's wow. I didn't expect that. Nice. We have some South Londoners. South Londoners are so dramatic. Capital letters. We're such main character syndrome. But yeah, I'm from South London too, so I resonate. I understand exactly how it is. Keep it coming, guys. Get started in about a minute. Also, can we just drop a thank you to the fact that we have almost 5 employees from BBC who have literally spent their evening after work, after a long day's grind, to come and actually speak to us. And some of them were even in other like sessions as well. Like, so HR did a really good job of putting them to these sessions. So just drop a thank you in the chat. It's much appreciated and keep the names coming, guys. And we'll get started in about a minute's time. I expect to see about like 51 connection requests because I'm trying to get to 30K on LinkedIn, guys. So please. All right, perfect. It's 6:05. We'll get started, guys. Thank you all so much for joining our virtual webinar with BBC. Really, really appreciate it. If you've been to one of our virtual event sessions before, it's usually really informative. And ultimately, what we're trying to do at these sessions is give you a bit more context beyond the job description, right? Again, you're supposed to make arguably one of the most important decisions in your life, where you're going to spend 80% of your time. And I think it's really important to have a bit of context before you actually click apply, more than the job description. And that's why we do a lot of these virtual sessions with the employers that we work with. We try and convince and force a lot of the employees to come to these sessions and give you a bit more context and answer any questions you have, and kind of make sure that you're well informed before you actually click apply. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why we host the sessions, and we're really grateful that all of you guys were able to attend. As I said, BBC have kindly volunteered their time this evening and brought a lot of representation. So there's going to be a lot of people talking in the chat and answering some of your questions as well. And there's representation across a lot of the areas that they're hiring in. We have the team from HR as well, who are going to give a bit of overview in terms of like how hiring works at BBC, the process, and then there's a lot of nitty-gritty technical questions that go over my head, and that is why the staff members are here to kind of answer it. I'll be your chief facilitator for the day. As you know, Demi is usually the one that hosts these sessions. She is on the call, but she's supposed to be out of office, but she just loves work too much, so that is why she's here. But apart from that, I'm going to hand it over to the BBC hiring and HR team quickly to kind of give an overview about BBC, and then we'll kind of delve into the questions. As I mentioned, guys, feel free to drop every single question you have in the chat, drop your LinkedIn's in the chat, and let's all interact. We're not obviously going to be able to get through a lot of these questions like within the hour, and I think that's why it's important to kind of like interact in the chat as well. A few housekeeping rules: feel free to have your camera on, but make sure you're on mute. And apart from that, let's delve into it. So I'll hand it over to Helen to kind of like give us an overview of BBC, and yeah, we'll delve into the questions.
Hi, so I'm Helen. I work in the talent acquisition team, and I'm here with Michelle as well. We've got a lot of other people here. Excited to meet you all. So thanks for coming on a non-sunny Tuesday evening. I'm not quite sure what's happened to the summer, so this is a nice alternative to being in the garden. So, Michelle, gonna hand over to you.
Thanks, Helen. My name is Michelle Hudson. I'm a senior recruiter for technical and product across the BBC. And I just wanted to open up with a little bit of an overview. So hopefully I do a good job. Hold on one sec. Right. So just a general overview about the BBC. So obviously the BBC holds a unique place within British society and around the world, broadcasting in more than 40 languages from Mumbles to Mumbai. The Beeb, as it's affectionately known by most of us, has built its foundations on community more than 100 years ago. And now, just as then, the BBC's success depends on its ability to provide value for all audiences, but in a fiercely competitive 21st century market. So as the world's leading public service broadcaster, we need our audience to be the architects of the BBC's future. So together we're building a globally creative and innovative culture, a world-class workplace for world-class people, with the world at their feet, which I love that analogy. So BBC is not just known as a world-renowned broadcaster, but it's also a pioneering force in digital transformation with a unique public service mission. The BBC's role as a trusted, impartial source of information places it at the intersection of technology, media, and society, making it an ideal environment to apply cutting-edge solutions to real-world challenges, from safeguarding digital infrastructure to enhancing audience engagement through intelligent systems. Roles at the BBC combine both innovation and integrity. Joining the BBC means aligning technical expertise with purpose and helps to shape the future of public service media in a rapidly evolving digital landscape. Excuse me. And our biggest products, I'm sure you're aware of most of them, are all digital and include BBC iPlayer, BBC Sounds, BBC News Online, BBC Bite Size, BBC Weather, Sport, and obviously other verticals as well. So that's just a short, very quick introduction, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Perfectly executed, Michelle. Like literally no stuttering at all whatsoever. And I think it's really interesting as well that you kind of mentioned and introduced the fact that BBC is actually like, renowned in the technology space. And I think that's kind of like the misconception that a lot of people don't actually realize that you guys are more than, a broadcasting or news channel in that respect. And I guess like maybe we can kind of like just kickstart with a very broad and general question in terms of what does career progression actually look like for experienced tech professionals at BBC?
Sorry, can you just repeat the question again? I didn't hear it.
So what does career progression look like for experienced tech professionals at the BBC?
So we adhere strictly to like fair recruitment policies here at the BBC. So everyone has an equal chance to further their career.
Hmm.
And we advertise all the new opportunities on our careers site. So if you're looking to take the next level, it doesn't have to be restricted to your individual team. We have popped the Careers Hub link in the chat. It should be there right at the top. So, and that's really the really first step in obviously applying and getting your profile uploaded online, where you'll get job alerts and get notified of all the careers that are available on the BBC.
No, most definitely. Thank you so much for the context on that. And I guess like in terms of internal mobility, if I was to join the BBC and let's say, for example, I joined in a location like Newcastle and I was working in AI, but all of a sudden I have a growing interest in cybersecurity, is there chances for me to be able to actually like move cross departmental wise or like, move across locations? Is that something that is typically like encouraged?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we also offer really amazing initiatives called Hot Shoes or 80/20, where staff can complete placements in other teams to like learn new skills and get experience where they need for like even for a career change. So as an example, at the moment, we've got 80/20 placements live at the moment to build our co-pilot function. And anyone from the business can apply to that.
Oh, perfect. I'll give Michelle a break. I don't want you to to get tired of answering all the questions, but a question that came in recently was, what tools do you recommend for someone who's looking to grow into tech? So again, I remember when I was speaking to Helen a while back, she talked about like, transferable skills being a really important thing. And I think in this day and age, a lot of people don't realize that there's so many things in current roles that like they may do that are not necessarily like tech focused, that could really be useful if they wanted to transition. So it would be great. Maybe we can kind of get some insight from some of the staff members that we have. What tools are you guys currently leveraging at the moment to kind of like, really upskill and like improve your knowledge in the tech space?
Can we start with Matthew? I think he's got his card. Oh, he's got his card. Sorry, Matthew, you've got your hand up.
I thought you were just picking on Matthew, Helen.
Yeah,
Well, I
no,
will do afterwards as well, but yeah.
just I just wanted to also just circle back to the previous question to say that also in the BBC, what we do is we have attachments and acting up. So we put out attachments as well. So say like if someone is gone on parental leave or we've got a need for extra staff, but we haven't got like a permanent role, we sometimes put out attachments for say like 6 months, or we allow people within the team to step up, and we call that acting up into other roles, and they get like a little bit of I think they call it remuneration for that. So yeah, there's many different ways that you can move around the BBC, and we are trying to, especially in BBC engineering, we are trying to really, really influence that and make that a thing where people can move around. So we were doing a location-based thing where you could only work in teams in that same location, but we've since lifted that, and we are working towards making it a little bit more free to move around, but it depends on your team and the team structure and situations.
Okay, got you.
Can I add on that as well? Sorry, just because I've seen another question come through around career progression and whether that's sort of as in terms of technical strengths as an IC or also team management as well. So like most big, large organizations, we've got the two different career paths. So it's that age-old question. If you want to get a job in, as a management, you sometimes need that management experience. But one of the most amazing things about the BBC, as Matthew's just said, is those attachment or acting up opportunities. So for an example, if you're if you're a senior engineer and you could either go through being a principal or to go into a team manager, having those acting up opportunities could help you step into getting that management opportunity to diversify your career options as well. So on top of that, with the options of working in different departments and looking at transferring your skills into maybe different tech streams as tech evolves, it just keeps opening up more opportunities across the wider BBC, which is quite a unique proposition, I think.
No, that's
Thanks,
really
Helen. Sorry, 1 second. I just want to add one more thing on top of what Helen said, is just that I mentioned that some people don't realize, but we at the BBC call call it attachments, but it's actually just a secondment. So most people will understand what that is. And just to clarify that a little bit.
You're so well done.
Yeah, that was literally what I was gonna ask, to be honest. But I think it's
We've
also,
been here too long. We've been here too long.
no, literally, you guys are literally too seasoned. No, one
Yeah.
thing that I found really interesting that Matt mentioned is also like the remuneration aspect of, like, actually acting up, because more often than not, what a lot of people complain about is that, they assume a lot of responsibility, but then they don't actually, like, get compensated for the responsibility. And I think that kind of like de-incentivizes people from actually wanting to really step up. Like the fact that you guys have a structure in place that says, oh, actually, if you are going to act up, here's the appropriate kind of compensation in order to incentivize you. I think that's like really, really interesting, and not something I've really heard, to be honest. I guess circling back to the initial question that I did ask before, there was some repertoire between you guys, almost as if you guys work together. What tools do you recommend for someone that's looking to grow into tech? So it would be great to kind of get some insight from the current staff at BBC. What you guys kind of like, what I guess ways are you kind of like looking to upskill yourself and stuff like that, and what are your go-to resources?
Can we pass to Sandy? He's got his hand up for that one.
Yeah, I was just trying to find out how to raise my hand. I'd say the BBC have a lot of I think one of the best things about the BBC is the learning element and the opportunity to learn. So we do have like 10% days and guild days where you have time to yourself to learn on, I don't know, whatever a tool or tech it may be. But circling back to the tools element, there's a lot of resources that we have within the BBC internally. BBC have their kind of own learning academy to a degree. So that's not just your tech skills, that's your interpersonal skills as well. But also on top of that, they have O'Reilly, Pluralsight, and LinkedIn Learning on top of all that as well. So it's quite heavy in terms of choosing which learning or tool that you want to use. So it's kind of choose which one fits you the best. So for me personally, I use stuff like kind of Pluralsight more than LinkedIn Learning.
Okay.
But because it suits my kind of style of learning. But we do have all them tools, as well as the BBC also depending on products as well. They kind of depend on your team. You can also learn within your team as well. So we do create like little downtime for teams as well, depending on your leaders and your team. So yeah.
That's really good to hear that you guys have like internal resources as well. So it's kind of a thing where, like, you don't just come into the role and you're expecting to get compensated only. It's actually the fact that there's actually a lot of investment into your development as well to progress. I'm going to move on to a few more questions around just like general hiring process and what that looks like. So maybe Helen, Michelle, you might be able to give a bit of like general insight into like the hiring process, just generally speaking. I know when I was looking at some job descriptions, you do kind of outline what that process looks like for each role, but it'll be great to get a bit more context here for people that are interested in open roles at the moment.
Helena, you want to go? Do you want me to
Yeah,
go?
I can do that one.
Okay.
I think one of the first things to really say about the BBC is that it is a very transparent and fair recruitment policy. So everything that you see, we purposely put everything online. So the salaries that we put online, the salary brackets that we pay, they're not there for fishing or anything else. That's what we've got after doing a fair cohort review. So the interview process, it will vary a little bit per role. Some depending, we'd always have a look at a team and see if we can upskill internal talent before we go out to market. So that's also really important to note, and everything else that we've said before. If you're at the BBC and we've got people that want to grow and develop, then we'll try and do that. However, we're a massive organization and we always need more people. So the interview process, let's say rule of thumb for coming in, might be a two-stage interview, one of which I imagine will be sort of technical tasks or pre-interview assessment for these sort of technical roles. So we as a recruitment team, we're here on hand to answer any questions. We've got everything on our website, again, for transparency and fairness throughout that. And one of the interviews will always be a BBC values and competencies. So these are where we're asking around your experience that's linked to our values. So We're, you know, our core values are really important to us, and we want people to come in that fit in well with them. You know, if you don't fit, that's great. There'll be other companies where you'll be a good fit for them, but we want, you know, everyone's different, and we want people to come in and hopefully, you know, there's synergy and our values fit together, and then we stay in because those are the people that stay here that we can, you know, continue to develop with us. We've gone through the onboarding process. When you've been here, we don't want your, you know, all of the stuff that you've learned to walk out the door. So it's a two-way street. We want you to be happy here as well.
No, most definitely. I think like that culture fit is really, really important, because you don't want to go into an organization where like you might be a great candidate on paper, but then if like, you know, the values or the fit isn't really aligned, then I don't think like it makes sense to really even pursue the role regardless. I'm going to ask a bit of a spicy question. I'm going to direct this one to Matthew, because obviously he's a manager. You know, what are some of the red flags or common candidate mistakes that you kind of see when people are kind of going through the process of interviewing for roles within your department?
Right. Okay, cool. That's a really good one. So my thing is, I use a phrase instead of saying culture fit, I try to say culture add, because what I'm saying is that these people will come in and add to our culture. That's what we're really looking for. And I get what people mean by culture fit, but I just like to use that because some people might not understand what we're trying to say there. So one of the things that we have done is we've really worked, especially in the engineering department, we've really worked on hiring for soft skills as well.
Okay.
And also hiring for so we've developed a diversity and inclusion question. And one thing, if you don't get a really good score on that diversity and inclusion question, you're not going to be asked to join the BBC. So we're looking for people, yeah. So we're looking for people that appreciate differences, respect people, and so forth. And that's what I was really looking for within my team, in my department. And I've really changed. So since I joined in 2023, that's one of the things I changed. I changed the kind of way that we go out and look for people, look for different things, look for, you know, looking for the feedback, like they're really communicative and stuff like that. And I brought people into the team, and that's helped change the face of my team, actually.
Okay, now that's really interesting to hear. I think, yeah, culture add is a unique term that I've kind of heard a bit more about, but it's interesting to see that you guys have like an assessment that kind of like quantifies if someone is actually like, you know, able to fit the organization, but then also brings like unique values as well. And I think the point you mentioned about like, you know, changing the face of your team kind of leads into my next question that I had around how inclusivity is built into tech projects and team culture at the BBC. And I think I was speaking to Glorious just before we started the call, and she was mentioning something around like, you know, how projects are really diverse at BBC. So maybe you can take that one, Glorious. Sorry to pick on you. I'm so sorry.
That's absolutely fine. You can pick on Jonathan next.
Got you.
So the question is how diverse the projects are in BBC. So BBC covers a wide range of engineering, from front-end engineering to back-end engineering to infrastructure to, yeah, a lot. So the projects are very wide. So we're definitely looking into diverse of thinking, because at the end of the day, as a technology, enabler, if I can say, or maybe experts, we need to provide solutions. So which require some of the soft skills that Matthew mentioned: being able to collaborate, being able to listen to one another, do not have ego, being able to put the business in the forefront of your mind, because at the end of the day, BBC needs to win. So that's what we are here for. And every company will not want to win, and they want people, because if BBC wins, we all win. And
of course.
Yeah, so projects are very wide. Again, depending on where you are. If you, for example, I'm personally in infrastructure, data infrastructure. So I'm working on a very exciting project that I really like, which is about essentially enabling data engineers and data scientists and AI data analysts. If you are in a data space, there's a lot of project there that's very business focused, because you have to report give reports and insights of how BBC is doing. If you're working on the front end, let's just say iPlayer, for example, the moment iPlayer stops working, the entire world will know about it and we'll be in trouble. So there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of work to do to sustain the work that we're doing, to continue to piece in innovation as well. So we have an R&D sector as well, where we're looking at the latest Gen AI applications, and how it applies to BBC, how it applies also, because BBC has journalists from like around the world. I met some from China not long ago. I met some from like Portugal, I met some from Romania. Different languages, and BBC translates all of that for every single local. So we need also some tech to provide that support as well, accessibility support, technology behind it. So there's just so much. And also security, making sure that if you have an account on BBC, it needs to be secure. So those who are interested in cybersecurity or the like, but also we have forensic AI. We have videos that are being like generated. It's not really man-made. We need to be able to decipher which one is real. And BBC wants to be an authentic platform for everybody as well. So we're looking definitely in the long term, how can people continue to trust BBC that they are representing the real thing that is happening worldwide rather than generated or just like bots flooding internet with information that's not necessarily correct. So there is so much work. You will be busy for a long time.
Literally, long story short, there's a lot of work and a lot of diverse things for you to sink your teeth into. And I think that was really reflected in the fact that when me and Demi, we came to the BBC for a little tour, courtesy of Helen, and we went to the R&D room, and there was just so much tech, so much stuff to play with, to be honest. But I think one thing that really stood out to me, Glorious, that you mentioned is just the commercial focus of your department, right? Because I think a lot of people always forget that yes, you work for an organization and you're getting paid, but that organization is actually a business and they need to make money. And I think a lot of people forget that, ultimately it's all about driving value towards actually moving like the needle on business outcomes. And I think it's always important to understand that, yes, I'm working on something and this is just my job, but there's actually like real impact and real commercial impact. And I think, being able to say, oh, I worked on this project and this led to like us like making X amount of money or delivering value in a big way is something that a lot of people really kind of overlook, but should really double down on. So I love the fact that you mentioned that. I'm gonna pick on Jonathan because you said I should. And Jonathan, I know when we're kind of like catching up initially before we started the session, you kind of mentioned what you do, and it went over my head. I'm gonna be really honest. It went over my head. But a question that came in that I think is really relevant to maybe like cover is just like the thought of how you guys are balancing legacy systems with like new tech. We're in a day and age where like you can't breathe without someone saying AI. But then also cognizant of the fact that BBC is a large organization and then there might sometimes be bureaucracy. So how do you guys kind of manage and toe the line between kind of integrating new technology and balancing that with like, the legacy systems that you have in play?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting question. And one thing, so before working at the BBC, I came from financial services, and I can tell you something, there's a lot more legacy code in financial services than there is in the BBC. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is we need to be able to operate, right? So we have millions and millions of users that are hitting our front door every single day. And to be able to handle that kind of traffic and that kind of load, we really need to make sure the tech is in good shape. So one of the big things that we really prioritize at the BBC is around making sure our systems are operationally suitable. So making sure that they're suitable for the millions of people that are using them every day.
Okay, no, perfect. No, thank you so much for the insight into that, to be honest. And I think, yeah, what you mentioned is like it really resonates because I used to work in financial services and the level of bureaucracy that kind of exists to just like breathe is a lot, to be honest. So yes, it's really interesting to see that like it's a lot more smoother like when it comes to like, how the BBC operates. I guess if we kind of like broaden it and look more, I'm just scrolling through the questions because I want to ask stuff that like are kind of like common themes, if you will. Something that someone asks is, how do you stand out, in the recruitment process? Because I think we're in a day and age where like people can like spam apply 1,000 applications using AI. The competition is higher than ever. So, it'd be really great to kind of get some insight into how someone can actually cut through the noise and not only get an interview, but actually like stand out in the process to essentially land a job. Because I think someone even said in the chat, it seems like getting into the BBC is like really hard. So I don't know if one of you could maybe give insight into like how to do that.
I'm happy to take this one.
Thank you, Sandy.
So sorry, I didn't introduce myself. I think I didn't. I work alongside Matt, so I'm an engineering manager as well. So the way I would approach how you stand out, I'm all about kind of culture fit. I can teach the skills, but I can't teach the behavior sometimes. So for me, to stand out is be yourself. completely based. I've took on non-technical people before, and they've been my greatest hire.
Okay.
So I think as long as the hiring manager creates the right environment and the right space for said candidate to excel, I would say that that candidate just needs to be themselves, want the job as well, but also don't think you have to have all the skills, is what I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
I think being open and honest is what we'd look for, because you can teach the skills. If you've got the right character, for me personally, this is how I hire. If you've got the right character and the right kind of commitment and the right kind of intentions, we'll always consider it. I would honestly consider it. I think my best hires has been on them kind of values. So I think also if you're going from, I guess, a non-technical role to a technical role, just show some intuition within your kind of CV as well, that you're learning even behind the scenes. Don't expect to kind of go from like I guess one sector, which could be, I don't know, non-technical, to then go to technical without having some kind of gaps in there to fill in, because it will be asked.
Yeah, most definitely. I think you kind of covered that perfectly, just in terms of like, what you should actually do in the application stage, and then what you should actually do when you're in the interview to get hired. So the way I kind of saw it is that in the application stage, especially if you're like looking to transfer into like a technical role from a non-technical background, is to really kind of like showcase, okay, cool, this is actually what I'm doing proactively to kind of like meet the requirements of this technical role. And I feel like I always liken this to the advice I give to candidates, is to kind of act like you're already there. Which is like the main thing. So act like the position that you actually want to be in. And that's how you kind of like show that you're literally ready for that role in that regard. And I think at the interview stage, what you mentioned is really important, in terms of you can be good on paper, but what is your character like? What is your attitude like? Are you open to learning? Are you coachable? Because those are like the elements that I think a lot of people miss out.
Yeah, and you've got to add in there as well, that hire has to fit in with the team as well. So if you don't fit in with the team, you might be the smartest person in the world. Like me personally, I wouldn't hire you if you can't fit in with the team, because you have to work with people. It's all about working with people on a day-to-day.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think what you mentioned as well about being yourself is really important, because I think a lot of people always like think that whenever they're about to apply for a job, it's literally all about like, oh, the employer wants to hire me. But if you're yourself and you don't fit in with the team, that's absolutely fine, because then maybe that's not even the environment for you, and that's absolutely okay. You're not going to get along with everyone, and that's absolutely fine. And I think being yourself is the most important thing. What you don't want to do is like pretend to be what you're not, because then you end up being in an environment where it's not really conducive to your development or progression, to be honest. I think it's really important to kind of like highlight that, yeah, being yourself is probably like the best thing you can do in the interview process, to be honest. A bit of a, I guess I'll kind of segue, and I want to go back to Glorious, because obviously, Glorious, I know you just recently joined the organization as well. It'll be great to kind of get a bit of insight into, I guess, your perspective and the process of what you did to kind of stand out, from application stage all the way to like, doing the interview and getting hired, just mainly because like, your experience is really fresh at the moment.
Yeah, certainly, no problem at all. So as Michelle and Helen mentioned, so I did apply via the platform as well, and I've got very fortunate to be selected also. In terms of practicing for my interview, somebody mentioned about a STAR method. I certainly use the STAR method, and also I practice how to communicate not only what I've done, the skills I've used to do what I've done, but also the impact, as Matthew mentioned as well, and as well as Sandy. They are looking for soft skills, and they are looking for whether you are be able to embrace BBC value as a whole as well. So every company wants to win. That's something that I always mention. They always want to win. So how can you collaborate? How can you come together and gel with the team in order to make in order to do something great and amazing? At the end of the day, the hiring process is also a relation. So it's like a relationship as well. So even at work, it will be a relationship. You should, as much as question those who are interviewing you, as much as they are interviewing you, you should ask questions to the interviewers as much as they are asking you questions also, to see if you are the right fit also. So it's not just by getting in, because we want the right energy, as Sandy mentioned, the right people in the team to make progress forward. So these are some of the key points I would mention. Yeah, that's it.
No, most definitely. I think, yeah, as you kind of mentioned, the interview process goes both ways. Just as much as you're trying to impress the interviewer, they're also trying to impress you in some regard, because again, you're going to spend 80% of your time there. You want to make sure that it's actually the right environment for you to progress. I'm going to zoom out for a bit and kind of ask a bit more of a general question that I think all the staff members may be able to kind of provide a bit of context on. Again, we're in an era where like technology is moving really fast. There's new things coming into play. It would be great to kind of understand how you guys kind of keep up with trends. So obviously from a learning perspective, I know Sandy kind of mentioned LinkedIn Learning and a lot of resources for you guys to like kind of learn like the technical proficiencies and stuff, as well as soft skills. But from a emerging technologies perspective and kind of like all the fast moving parts at the moment, are there any like, you know, secret or like, you know, sources that you kind of leverage that you kind of keep up to date with? I can see Glorious's hand up, so I'll kind of hand it back to you.
Yeah, I'm just going to say something very short and sweet, and others can comment on that. I personally have a background in mathematics, pure mathematics, and that helped me understand computer science, and that helped me understand AI, because I drill it down to the basics. And that's why I am personally not waved or maybe not scared about all the emerging technologies. It just makes sense when you look at the principles behind. When you look at cloud, the principles behind, we just need more data storage, we just need to make infrastructure a bit better. So learning the principles behind every emerging technologies. So even like, let's just say ChatGPT is just about natural language processing on fire. So that's what it is. So if you had like, it's just human communication essentially. So some of the algorithms behind it. So understanding the principle behind it and trying to find blogs to help you understand that. You don't have to know the details. You don't have to know the exact tools that they're using, but what are they trying to accomplish with all the emerging technologies coming up? What are they trying to accomplish? What is the gap in the market? Because somebody needs to pay for those technologies. Somebody needs to be interested in who is paying for it and why are they paying for it also. So yeah, so once you got that, and you recognize what you're most interested into, you can drill into it in terms of like the technology, how they apply it, and some of the, you know, constraints or the like. So that's what I would say. Yeah. You are on mute, unless.
Very poor from my part. I'm going to pick on Jonathan next.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say on this is it's the same as learning anything, and I think that it really starts with understanding yourself, right? Because different people learn in different ways. Some people learn from reading things. Some people learn from getting their hands dirty. So for me personally, I learned from getting my hands dirty, doing it. So what I would say for people who are like me on the call, perhaps it's difficult for me to speak for everyone else. Just say yes to every opportunity that comes your way. There's so many teams, so many opportunities in the BBC. There's so many technologies, so many different approaches to doing things. Do just never turn down an opportunity to learn. That's my advice.
Thank you for that. Matt, you want to go next?
Yeah, I just wanted to just piggyback off of that, Jonathan. I've got a saying. I've got many sayings. One of them is say yes more than you say no. And then if people around you are making you say no, then you need to think about the people you hang around with.
Okay, no, love the gems, love the gems. You should consider motivational speaking, Matthew. I don't think engineering
I
is
do.
for you. You do
That's what I
motivational
do.
speaking. Oh,
Yeah, that's what I do.
literally there. Sandy, what about you? Any sort of resources or stuff that you leverage to kind of keep up with trends?
I'd say involve yourself in local tech meetups as well.
Okay.
Because I think in the world of where tech's moving fast, I think you also got to bring it in. So I think involve yourself in local tech meetups. I'll be one. There's a plenty of resources out there, but I would say just find the tool or the I guess the publication, whatever it may be, that suits you best. Because I don't think everyone's learning or everyone's kind of keeping up to date with tech is the same. So for me, I'm a visual learner. I'm not a theory learner. You know, I'm not gonna learn without kind of actually doing it hands on. So for me, just keep up to date with certain publications. I would say certain meetups as well, because I think if you don't get involved in general meetup, you're not going to see what the vibe is with other communities and other kind of local people at the same time. You're kind of going to be sitting in a bubble. So that's what I'd say, anyways, in terms of
Yeah. No, most definitely. I also think like meeting up with other people as well, like when it comes to like technique meetups and stuff, gives you that different perspective, rather than you internalizing and having your own biases, right? So you might understand tech in a certain way, but then you meet other people, and that's what diversity of thought is about. They give you a different perspective, and now you look at it from a different angle. So I think it's important to always kind of like interact with people in that regards. I guess if we kind of zoom out to, okay, cool, I've applied it to BBC now, I've been successful, I applied through Beyond Education, I got the job. Great. What would you say? And I'm going to ask this question to Sandy and Matt specifically because you guys are managers, right? What would you say for a hire as soon as they get the role? What is like, their 90-day priority, like, in terms of how to, I guess the reason this person asked this question is more so from like passing probation, right? So 90 days, I'm in the role. What should I be doing basically to make sure that I actually secure this job long term?
Do you want to go first, Matt, or do you want me to take it?
I could go first, and I say just do what Glorious has done.
Fair play. Fair play, fair play. Very nice and succinct. Sandy,
Yeah.
you want to double down on that?
Yeah. I'd say be a sponge. I think learning never stops, no matter what age you are. So obviously when you first come in, you want to kind of absorb and be a sponge into what's going on within the team, and what the product is, who my team members, and just kind of set yourself. It depends on your role as well, because obviously you can come in junior, you can come in like kind of, I know, principal, and there'll be different expectations depending on what level you're at. So I would say absorb initially, and just get involved. Just get involved from when you're feeling comfortable. Obviously there's different levels of expectation depending on which role you sit in. So if I was like, I don't know, an apprentice or a junior software engineer, for example, I would just I would just absorb really and kind of just pair up with people and ask questions. It's always, I think one of the biggest skills in software engineering is curiosity. I think you've got to be curious, and if you don't be curious, you'll never know how to work something out or how to work with people.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think being inquisitive is definitely really important. I'm gonna ask a bit of a left field, maybe vulnerable question, and I'll leave it open to the floor to answer. Has there been a time, again, I can imagine in a technical role that's currently constantly evolving, has there been a time where you felt imposter syndrome, where you just felt like, okay, I'm kind of out of my depth here, like I don't really know what I'm doing here? And how do you navigate that situation?
Yeah, all the time. I still feel it today. Imposter syndrome is the thing that is just currently, or I guess inherently there for a lot of engineers, and it's how you go about dealing with it. Some of the things that I do and have done, because I've been at the BBC for a very long time. I haven't really introduced myself. I'll do really quickly. I've been at the BBC for almost 16 years. I started off as a midway engineer, and then in 2021, I jumped up to a team lead, and then I became an engineering manager. For a period of that time, I really did struggle. And then I went on a resilience course, completely changed my life. I dove into motivation and resilience, and that's what's really helped me get to where I'm going. One of the things that I was just saying in the chat is that you got to learn how to fail fast. So one of the things that I have, another saying that I've got is fail fast, fail early, fail often, but don't fail stupid. And the only way that you can fail stupid is if you give up or you don't learn from a mistake. And what I also say is, don't get it wrong. There's a difference between giving up on something and then making an educated decision not to continue with something. But so with all of those types of things in place, like I'll go back to, I'm writing some documents. I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but I'm going to go ahead and keep doing it because I'm going to be learning all the time. And I just pull in all of the I can communicate with lots of different people. So being able to communicate with people and using those soft skills, you can pull in the knowledge from all of those people and then put it in a document that I'm writing. And then I can give credit to other people, say I spoke to this person and that person, but here's the document, here's it collated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, most definitely it makes sense. I think, yeah, recognizing that like where everyone's winging it to a certain extent and always learning more than anything, from juniors to like senior leaders to even CEOs and people that you see running big organizations, right? So I think it's important to always just kind of recognize like we're all ultimately in the same boat. But I think when it comes to imposter syndrome is that if you were in the room already. Like, you know, you're more than qualified to be there. And I think it's really important to kind of like recognize that, right? One thing I really wanted to stay on you, Matt, is you mentioned that you've been at BBC for 16 years. And I think that just speaks to the testament and culture of BBC. And it'll be great from your perspective to understand why you stayed for so long and what's made you stay for so long at BBC.
Ooh, well, so for the first part, I was struggling. So I thought I had the imposter syndrome, so I couldn't really leave. I felt like I couldn't leave. But then what I've done, I've turned that around, and now I'm in a place where I want to help as many people as I can. So this is why I'm on this call. This is why people will reach out to me and so forth and so forth. But I believe that the BBC has the potential to help so many different people. So this is why I'm trying to make that happen.
Nice. Love to hear that. And I guess I'll kind of like ping it out to like the wider BBC team members, like, you know, what actually attracted you guys to work at BBC, especially in tech roles when, you know, the BBC is not necessarily known as like a tech organization predominantly. So what made you guys actually even want to consider the BBC as an organization to work in, and what have you enjoyed about it so far?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh.
Sorry,
go on, Jonathan. No, go ahead. Jonathan,
it seems like all of you love BBC at this point.
I guess for me, I mean, the BBC it really is a world class organization. And you look back in time, you look to 100 years ago, we created TV. We've got a long history of innovation, and I think even though the BBC might not necessarily be associated with tech, just look at what we do. Do you know what I mean? We've got BBC iPlayer. It serves millions of people every day. You really have to have good technology to be able to handle that kind of those kind of users and those kind of scenarios. So I really do view it very much as a tech company. But it's just a great place to work.
That's great to hear. Sandy, about you?
So I'm not as long as Matt, which is 16 years. I've had a career from different companies. So I came from Tesco Bank. Before that, I've been worked in the government, being a contractor, etc. The thing that I'd say something. I've been in tech for 10 plus years now. I think the BBC is probably the best company I've worked for tech wise, because of how forward thinking they are, and I guess the autonomy when it comes to tech. It's definitely the best for learning as well, in terms of creating an environment to learn and develop your skills. And it's definitely got the work-life balance. And for me, in this stage of my career, where I am currently with 2 kids, etc., and I guess the products I'm working on, it's very important for me to have these kind of things. So it really depends on the person, I would say, as well. But they advocate for a lot of stuff, like they've mentioned, around kind of just jumping around different teams when you want to have when you want to grow. The work-life balance is fantastic. The learning tools is fantastic. The autonomy in picking the tech tools within a certain limit is fantastic. And I guess also the demand, obviously, different organizations operate differently, is what I'd say. So if you go into a financial organization like a bank, it's different pressures. So the BBC also has pressure to deliver to the stakeholders, but it's not the red tape pressure or the kind of thorough red tape that you have to go through, for example, when you go in the bank. For me, it's just kind of having the right balance of everything, which makes the environment great to work in. But yeah, no, I joined BBC in 2023, and from going from a bank to a public service, it's kind of night and day. So I knew what I was looking for, and that was kind of innovative tech is one thing, and the work-life balance, because that's what fitted in my life at that moment because of my kids.
Nice.
So.
That's good to hear. Glorious, what are you?
Apologies, can you repeat the question just to make sure I answer properly?
So I was asking, you know, what attracted you to BBC and made you consider it as an organization to, like, you know, continue your tech career, especially when BBC outward facing isn't really considered to be a tech organization?
I got a chance to meet some people who were in the BBC, who were working for BBC, and I got a chance to speak to them prior applying to see what it is like, how they feel about the company in general, and that helped with my judgment whether to go and apply, first of all, and also even during the interview and after the interview also. One thing that stood out to me is that I can build a very long technical career here. And also the work-life balance is very, very good. So those two things really stood out to me. Comparing to other big tech companies, there's a lot of fluctuation. So that was my personal preference with BBC as a whole. But yeah, so I was just, and it felt like the right fit in a sense that I can grow, and I'm somebody who is very keen on growing. Every 18 months, if I haven't moved, I will question myself. I'm like, what have I learned? Especially technology. I have made peace myself that technology is it's an area where you sign up for lifelong learning. Like, you never stop learning until actually you never stop learning. And and it shows. Some of the things that I've learned about 5 years ago is almost out of date to now. That's how fast-paced. So being okay with that, and this space provides me, BBC provides me the space to learn at a decent pace without the pressure of insecurity, if I can say. Yeah, so that's something that stood out to me, and that's why I like BBC, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Whereas a lot of things that I kind of like pinpointed from what you mentioned, I think I always tell people the easiest way to kind of like, get the answers to what you want is literally just to go and find someone with the answers, right? So the first thing that you mentioned is that, okay, I'm about to apply for this role. Let me just go and speak to people that actually work in this company to actually find out what it's about. And I think that's one of the reasons why we do these virtual events, because again, there's only so much context you can get from a job description that has so much jargon and so much information without no context and no one to ask questions. So I think that's the first thing I would always advocate for anyone to do. Find the people with the answers in the position that you want to be in and kind of like go from there. So yeah, I think it's really important to kind of do that. There's a couple of questions that are kind of like coming through the chat. So I kind of want to give it up to people to ask, and I can see Michelle's hand up as well. So I'll hand it over to her. Oh, Michelle, you're on mute, by the way, Michelle.
Sorry,
it's okay. We know
BBC
don't use Teams, don't use Zoom, so it's okay. It's all good.
Thanks for forgiving me. Somebody asked a question about work-life balance, and I just wanted to mention that having a 35-hour week and having flexibility available, like if you have you've got to do the school run or those sort of things, is really something that goes a long way to making you enjoy your job a bit more, that understanding and those things that are available to you. And there's a whole lot like paternity leave and all those sort of added goodies that they have. And just recently, on a personal level, my husband was diagnosed with a bit of a scare, skin cancer. And my boss mentioned to me that they do carer leave. Now, coming from South Africa, we don't have that available to us back there. And the fact that I was able to take him to his appointments and take time when I needed to was just so invaluable. And I've never, ever had that in another situation or a job. And I just think those are the things that make you actually love your job, because it makes all the difference to your work-life balance. So it's a really, really important thing. And I'm really passionate about it because it's affected me on a personal level. And I know there's many, many stories like that at the BBC. So I just wanted to mention that. And then also just to mention on, somebody was asking sort of like how you're going to stand out on the application side of things. I just wanted to quickly mention that when you are doing your applications for jobs, you'll have application questions that you need to answer. But if you want to really sort of give us a taste of what you are like, do the cover letter and upload it, because that won't be limited. The questions on the front end of the application always have a limit, and you're limited to answer it to a certain amount. But on your cover letter, you're not limited, and that's your time to shine. And we do, as recruiters, absolutely read those cover letters. So just wanted to say that.
No, most definitely. I think cover letters are really demonized in today's day and age. But I just feel like with the competition in the job market, I feel like it's the easiest way for you to stand out. And I think a lot of people in this day and age, when they're submitting applications, they tend to be like overly formal with a lot of these documents. But a cover letter is a place for you to be able to illustrate and tell your story and give a lot of context to your experience. And I think following some sort of like storytelling format to really illustrate like your experience would really make you stand out. So even with the STAR technique, for example, a lot of people would say situation, task, action, result. I always say storytelling, situation, task, action, result, because the story is unique to you. So it's a lot more memorable to the person you're speaking to. Everyone's always going to remember your story over someone that just said, the reason why I want to work here is because you guys have great benefits. But if you intertwine a story that's like really, really personal to you, that would make you stand out more. I can see a few hands up. Helen, and I saw Matt's hand up as well. Helen, you go first.
Yeah, it's just building on that with the applications, because I know we had a few submitted questions around those, and I think one of them was what not to do with your CV. And look, we've all been there. We've all been at the point where we're looking for a job and we're submitting 50, 60 applications, and it's demoralizing and time consuming. We understand that, but one of the worst things that you can do is, and we're all human and we've made these mistakes, trust me, but it's to submit a CV that's meant for another job, or the cover letter that's got a different company's name on it if you've just copied and pasted. So where we've got those applications questions built into a lot of the roles we've advertised, they're there for people to explain their experience, but also explain, we keep talking about it, but a transferable skill. So you might not have, obviously very random example, but you might not have SAP implementation, but you might have another lots of experience in implementing another piece of software. So that again is relevant. So use that as an opportunity to make your application stand out and say, I haven't done this, but I have done X, Y, Z. And it gets that care and attention that goes into it to show that you are really interested in this opportunity.
Most definitely. Thank you for the tip, Helen. Matthew, I believe you had your hand up before, but I don't know if you still wanted to mention your point.
Really quickly to tack onto what Michelle said about work-life balance. Like, my partner was ill for a period of time, and I got a lot of kind of like, just the right support, the right level of support that I needed to get through that. And just to also say, we work, we have flexible hours that we work. So the core hours are 10 till 4, and then you can work your 7 hours or the 8 hours of the day either side of that. So you can start, say, like at 8 o'clock and finish at 4, or you can start at 10 and finish at 6. And that's up to you what you do. All we ask for you to do is just let everybody know what hours you're working that day, so we can do our pairing and stuff like that around that. And then also sometimes as Michelle mentioned, we have our flexible hours as well. So sometimes people do compressed hours if that's right with your team. It's always about your team as well. So you can do compressed hours, so you can have a day off in the week, or some people do it, they stretch it out so they can have one day off every other week. But again, that's based on your team and your line management.
No, it's really good to hear the sentiment of like, flexible working and just the arrangements that you guys have in place. And I think it reminds me of the point I had earlier when Glorious mentioned that she can kind of learn at her own pace without no added pressure. The tech industry, if you're working in like a high growth startup, or like a company that's just raised a lot of money and they want to take over the market, you find that you're working like every single hour around the clock, and then there's risk of like layoffs, and there's so many pressures to ship products and stuff like that. Whereas it sounds like the BBC, again, yes, you guys are a tech organization, but there's that like cognizant of flexibility, and the fact that you guys are in a different industry but approaching tech in a more like I guess progressive kind of like timeline, if that makes sense. So I think the pacing is really, really important. And Glorious, she's about to illustrate my point a lot more better than I was illustrating it. But go on, Glorious.
I just want to say that we cannot compare really BBC to a startup, because BBC is like literally like 50 million trucks, if I can say, and a startup is maybe like a Ferrari trying to get to the to the finish line. So for us, we are carrying quite a lot. And and we're not necessarily at the stage of proving a prototype and trying to get our first clients and the like, which is what the startup world is about. But BBC is about maintaining and actually taking a lot of us along as well. We do have areas of R&D where we are trying to do some prototypes, and also within our teams as well, we are trying to do things, innovate new things as well. So it's a different approach and different movement in general. If that startup becomes very big or gets acquired within another company, they will shift to the culture as well.
Yeah, most definitely. I think ultimately what I kind of like take from everything that you guys kind of mentioned when I asked that question is just kind of figure out what type of culture, what works for you and the lifestyle that you want, and then basically like optimize towards like applying for organizations and roles in that space. If work-life balance is something that's really important to you and you want to work in tech, then you might not want to work at a high growth tech startup. You might want to like work in an organization that's a lot more established. We are right on the hour, and yeah, a very interactive session, guys. Thank you so much for sending all the questions through. We just got to wrap up because again, I'm very conscious of the fact that BBC representatives literally are 2 hours outside of their working hours, to be honest, probably even 3 hours, because Matthew mentioned that it's actually 10 to 4 core hours. So again, we thank them so much. Drop your thank yous in the chat for them actually come and chat with us and give us some insight into like their roles and stuff for applying at BBC. I saw a couple of questions in the chat about if this session is recorded. Yes, the session is recorded and it's going to be live there Beyond Education. You have to be a member of the site in order to access that, and if you are part of the community as well, you'll be able to access it so that you can watch this back and make sure that you're sending quality applications with the tips that have been kind of shared in this session as well. And yeah, that's all going to be shared via email. Demi is literally going to be on it. She's probably drafting it right now. You're going to receive it in like 5 to 10 minutes. She's really efficient like that, so you be sure to like get that. If you enjoyed the session as well, feel free to post about it on LinkedIn, tag Beyond Education, tag BBC, get the word out there, do some social signaling, show people that you're actually like investing in your own professional development as well. It's really, really important. Tag all the people that you saw today at BBC, tag Matthew, tag everyone, let them know that you were actually at the session as well, so they remember who you are. But apart from that, guys, just look out for emails and all the opportunities that we have at BBC. And yeah, again, thank you guys all so much for joining the session, and thank you to our BBC representatives as well. So we'll wrap it up there, guys. So chat to you guys in a bit. Bye, guys.
See ya. Thanks.
Cheers, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.